Fucking dream so big that they'll haunt you or they'll calm you. That's how you know if you gotta go and get it, get to win and not conquer. I had to go out and get it without a sponsor. Kept it real, never crooked, yeah, that's honor. Now I can go out and get it how I want to. Hashtag bless, I choose.
Good morning, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter. Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show. Today is Thursday, May 9th, and we have an amazing guest that's going to be joining us today. Her name is Ammy Edberg, if I believe I'm saying that right. I'm absolutely horrible with names, but I want you guys to do me a favor. Down in the show notes are links to her channels. She has her Twitter over here. Please swing over here and follow her over on Twitter. And then she also has a link right here in her Twitter bio, which you can swing over and click. So I won't overtalk it. I'm going to bring Ammy on the show. Welcome to the show, Ammy.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
What do you want to know? I'm from Sweden.
You're Sweden. Are you born and raised in Sweden?
I'm born and raised in Sweden, this little Nordic country. Or we're not that little, actually.
Tell me about what are your parents like?
What are they like? They're very kind, both of them. I think that I'm born and raised in the right way. Like my dad is the person that brought me into Bitcoin in the first place. So I'm very thankful for him.
What was it like growing up in Sweden?
Easy, very easy. As soon as I grow old, I start to question a lot of things. But that's more like what media is like telling us. I have the feeling that like we think that nothing is censored in Sweden, but like when I start to look at and especially when I got on Twitter, like you get so many like different news than we get if we compare it to the media that we have in Sweden, like the news. So yeah, I don't know. That's such a good question, but the media part is it's weird.
What was the first thing that you really started to wake up and realize? Like what caught your eyes when you really like, wow, you said you thought you were not censored, and then you started to get on Twitter and you started to see things. What were you starting to see on Twitter?
Well, honestly, this wasn't that much on Twitter, but during COVID, because Sweden had, like, we handled COVID in a different way that the rest of the world did. So for example, a lot of countries, they put people like they needed to be inside of their apartments, they couldn't go out and things like that. And in Sweden, like it wasn't that much of a change. We believe in this like flock immunity, that everything just will solve out like naturally. I don't know. And like the way that we pictured ourselves in our country, that looked way better than like when you went on social media and you saw like Sweden is handling this in this situation. So COVID for sure, but also like I had a conversation with you now about like the criminology in criminals in Sweden, and since I live in Sweden, I don't see it happening.
So you guys are having no issues with the migrant crisis or anything of the sort?
I know that we have some problems with that, and like you can see that our gang criminality has been way worse during the last years. But like the way that media talks about it in other countries, it's a big difference than the way that we talk about it in Sweden. Like I remember I saw this newspaper about that. The police is saying that like they can't do anything more now to protect our women. I saw that it was an article about Sweden that the Sweden's police said that, and like I didn't even get that news, and I live in Sweden, and I am a woman in Sweden, so like things like that. But yeah, we do have some problem with the migration, for sure.
So do you live in a nicer area of Sweden where you're just not feeling it as bad as other parts of Sweden?
I live in a good area in Sweden, and we have these like more vulnerable areas, and like that's when, for example, that article I wrote, it was probably some police that said something about just that area, like I feel so safe when I'm, for example, in Stockholm during the night and I have to like get home by myself. No worries, I'll do it. um so I think that I live in a good area, if you look at it that way.
You're able to go in the area you live, you're able to walk home at night by yourself?
Of course.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was getting way worse over there.
No, not that I know.
So let's talk a little bit about your early life. You had said your dad got you into Bitcoin, but if you had to say, who was the most influential person in your life and how did they impact your life?
Oh, wow. I have a lot of influential people in my life. One people that really influenced me is my best friend, Lovisa. She went to, I think it was Costa Rica for like 2-3 years ago, and she started to deal a lot with like her emotions, with like trying to connect with the universe to get more spiritual and like connect. She started to do full moon meditations. And then I was with her in Paris for 2 years ago, and like I had a lot going on in my life, and I had a lot of feelings that I was not dealing with. Like for me, it's so easy to like push my feelings away, uh, and that's when like she told me that maybe you should try to do a full moon meditation just to try to feel something, and that helped me a lot, and that changed me. Like that completely changed me into a new person in the better way. Uh, so now I do like one full moon meditation every full moon, so once a month, and also a new moon manifestation. We actually had a full moon yesterday. No, a new moon yesterday. So she really impacted me, and like she really, that made me like change my mindset about everything. That like I trust that everything will solve out no matter what. So like she had a really good impact on me.
So walk me through that. What is it like? Is it like you're tapping into something or some resource, or you're projecting positivity out into the world, and then that way you're almost manifesting it back? Is that kind of what you're experiencing?
The crazy thing is that like I got in my diary, just like I write diary every day, and I got in my diary for like 3 days ago, and I found a note because I lay down my notes in my diary. So I find a note that says 8th of August 2024, and I was like, what? That
Oh no, we lost her. Oh man, that was good. I hope she comes back. We were having a little bit of issues with her internet service a minute ago, and I was actually surprised on how long it lasted. Let's hopefully she'll be able to come back here in a second. But folks, again, make sure you guys swing over there and follow Amy on Twitter. We're going to dive deeper into this interview here in a second. I hope she'll be able to come back and get back into the system. We'll give her a second to come back, and we'll hang out here for a minute. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. If you guys are, please consider smashing that like button. Oh, there she is. She's back. Hold on.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're back. I was hoping you're going to come back. I don't know. Sometimes you'll get kicked out, but it's all right.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that was probably I was telling you something that I shouldn't be telling you.
Oh, please continue.
No, but so I find this note in my diary, and it says 8th of August 2024. And I was like, what? That hasn't happened yet. Like, how's that possible? And then I remember that, whoa, I did this Lionsgate manifestation 8th of August 2023. And that's when you were supposed to write a diary note, but for your future self in a year. So I wrote down what I wanted a day in my life to look like. And I read through that, and every sentence that I wrote down like the past year, that happened. And that's crazy because a year ago, I wasn't working with Bitcoin. I didn't know that I would go to Madeira, but I wrote down that the trip to Madeira, I wrote that in the diary note. And I was like, what is this? So like, I really believe in manifestation. It was like, mostly it was about like work, but it was a lot about like relations and how I feel about myself and things like that. But if we look at like new moon manifestation and a full moon meditation, so nowadays I do live by the cycle of the moon. So I have the new moon manifestation, and that cycle is for 15 days. So we had a new moon yesterday. So what you do is that you write down, I take a paper and I write down like everything that I want to achieve, both in like the short run. So for example, that, oh, I wanna do good in this interview, for example, or I want that trip to be amazing. Or so I manifest it in that way. And then I like work really ambitious to receive those goals in 15 days. And then we have the full moon. And that's when I do a full moon meditation. So I sit down and I write down everything that's like that doesn't give me anything anymore. So it can be relationships, it can be like something that happened, it can be bad energy. Like I write down everything, and then you delete that. So what I do is that I always go outside and I set fire to that paper. So I just watch like, okay, there goes my problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then I let go of that. And then we have the full moon cycle, which is also it's for 15 days. And that's when you're like, you're just floating. You take everything as it comes. You're not taking any big decisions and things like that. And like I have been living that way for a year now. And it works so good.
Why do you think that is? What part of that is it? You're manifesting it, so you're seeing it, you're letting go of the things that are holding you back, and then you're projecting the positive things, and then because you've projected them, you've incentivized yourself to work harder to achieve them. How do you think you're basically harnessing and pulling this from this? Is the universe just has so much abundance out there that if you ask for it, it's going to come to you?
I think so. Like I do believe in karma. If I do good, I will have good back. But like, yeah, most of it's that like if you delete all the negative thoughts and just focus on everything positive, that will get you far.
It's so weird how you have these conversations. I was literally texting somebody like right before I brought you onto the show, and I was like, I'm just going to be the most positive person. I'm so sick of being negative and miserable. I've been really focused because I do all the reporting on like the news. So I'm like, it's just so negative, everything I do. And I've been seeing things in a negative light, but I haven't made any positive changes in my life. I've been extremely negative and it hasn't made anything better. So why am I being negative about things I can't change and not just flipping to the positive?
And Ryan, look at that, because if you trust universe, just the fact that like I believe so much in manifestation that when you just send it away that text, you was also sending like universe a sign that okay, I need to be more positive. So I'm gonna bring Btchick into this show, and she's gonna have this mindset talk with me.
Yeah. Weird.
Like when you start to look at it in that way, like everything makes sense. And for me, it can be like, you know that all people we have this, what is it called? A human chart, like human design charts. So for me, I realize that everything I say and everything I think, it happens. It's crazy. Like for example, I can be sitting on a flight and I think that, okay, wonder how many hours I have left. And like 30 seconds after, they're gonna say out loud, okay, we have 2 hours left to Sweden. It's crazy. It's things like that. And like that happens to me every time. And I told my colleague about that. And she said that, have you checked your human design chart? And I was like, no, what is that? So we started to look that up. And it turns out that I'm a manifestation generator. So I'm like born and raised to manifest things.
Really? And tell me more about this chart.
So should I do you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do you. Okay, I have an app. It's super interesting because I went home one day, this was like a month ago, and I talked about this to my dad, and he said that you know that this is a religious thing. It comes from like deep from the Jewish people or something like that. So they looked into this human design chart for a long time ago. Okay, new chart. Ryan, which month are you born?
October.
October. And which day?
10th.
10th. And which year?
87.
87. Do you know the time?
Yeah, 11:10 p.m.
11:10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know the place?
Yeah, in Michigan, in Detroit specifically. Actually, it was Ann Arbor, Michigan. No, maybe. Yeah, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
I have two like alternatives: Michigan City or Michigan Center.
Do center.
Center. Okay, get shard. No, okay. 11:10. Okay, so this is your chart then. This is.
Hold on. Yeah,
wait.
there it is. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
So this is designed as a person that sits down. So like this should be the head, as I understood it. Wait, it's so.
Here, let me give
like
you a
that.
full screen. Give me 1 second. I'll get you a full screen on there. Then you can. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
So this is the head, and then you also like have the belly, and like I haven't researched that much about this, but it's super interesting when you start to look into it. And so, for example, the white fields, as I understand it, that means that you're kind of open-minded. So you want to and also the red part. Oh, so many things going on in my head right now.
Yeah,
But
tell me.
the white things, they tell me that you're very open-minded, that you're open to learn new things and things like that. And also like when you have the red the red thing in your belly, because this is a person that sits in in Sweden we say skräddare, when you sit down on your like kind of on your knees. So that the red part is your belly, and it's red, so that means that you should always trust your in your gut feeling and things like that. But I can send you this. It's super interesting.
Yes, I'm so excited. Tell me more.
What do you want to know?
What else? Like, what is like? How long does it take? Did it take you to like understand this? Was it like a long journey?
Yeah, it's still happening. Like
Every day
I learn new things every day. Like so it started with when I went to Paris with Lovisa, and she told me that you should try to do a full moon meditation, just to let yourself feel, like just get in contact with your feelings, like try to figure it out, like, is this doing me any good, or can I delete that? Can I control the situation, or can I delete that? So I did one full moon meditation, and I was like, wow, like I feel so much better after that. So I did one, and then the next month I did another one, and I did another one, and then it wasn't until like last summer when I started to read about this, like, okay, what is a full moon meditation? And I looked in, because you can do it in really different ways. So I started to look into that, and that's when I saw that, wow, you can also do a new moon manifestation. What is that? So I started to do both, like a full moon meditation to delete all the bad things, and then also a new moon manifestation. I just started to do that, and then I started to read more about that, and I thought, wow, you can live by this. You can live by the moon cycles. That's crazy. And so now that's my life.
Walk me through a full moon meditation. Is this something that you're doing out night, outside? Can you do it in your house? Is it
You can do it in your house. So a full moon meditation, you just you find like a comfort place. It can be like I go a lot to Spain. So if I'm in Spain, I like to be outside, like in the terrace or something like that. But if I'm in Sweden and it's so cold and rainy here, so that sucks. I just I sit down in my bed, maybe. I take a note. You can have like any paper. You can write on your phone if you want to do that instead. And you just sit down and you try to feel everything that you can feel. Like to try, like even the worst parts of, like even the things that you don't want to imagine. Like maybe you have some traumas that you're trying to deal with. So you can go way back. And you can also have like things that happened the last month, and like everything. And just sit down and be like, okay, that happened. I don't like that. Okay, write that down then. Or, oh, I have the feeling of this right now. Write that down. Or, oh, I'm in a very stressful situation right now in my life. I stress a lot. Write that down. Or I eat a lot of stupid food. Write that down. So write down everything that doesn't serve you anymore. It can be on your phone, or it can be a note. And then what you do is you sit with that and you're trying to feel that, and then you delete that. So if you're writing on your phone, just delete the note. Or do as me. Like, I love to set fire to it. So then you have to be outside, of course.
Yep.
So just set fire to the paper, and like, I always watch the paper go away, and I'm trying to like realizing that, okay, there goes my problems. Like, I'm not going to pay more attention to those. And it's just that. Like, if you're wanting to go into crystals and things like that, you can do that as well. A lot of people, they like to connect this with crystals. So then they just, I think you're just laying your crystals out during the night to absorb the moon's energy or something like that.
And how do you feel about like vibrations and frequencies? Does everything have a vibration and frequency that you're trying to, I guess, tune your body to?
It does. Like, I think that you're for sure sending out, like, you attract the same energy and the same vibration that you're sending away. So if you're in a happy position, like, for example, you want to stay positive, then you have to be around positive people, because you can't, if your vibration is up here, you can't talk to a person that's here. Or the same goes, like, if you're here, if you're always negative and you meet a person that's here, like, you won't connect to that person. You won't. So I believe a lot in energy and vibrations, for sure.
It's weird that you say that, because the more negative I am, I just watch the people around me that they don't attract themselves to me. And as soon as you start being like overly optimistic about everything and just super grateful for everything that the world has to offer, you just attract more and more people around you.
It's so true. It's so true.
Why do you think that is?
I think that you can look into it in two ways. It's so interesting that that we're having this kind of questions, because I usually don't talk about this. It's always just in my mind. But I think that you can like look into it in a more spiritual way, but also in like like it's very hard to meet people that's not like in the same mindset as you. I can feel that I worked a lot on my mindset. I have a really good mindset. And that's like, if I can choose something that I like mostly about myself, it's my mindset. Like, I find positivity in everything. I talked to a friend about this just some days ago, that imagine that you're in the university and you bought a takeaway coffee, and you're walking in the hallway and you spill it out all over you. What will you think? Like, probably most of the people, they will be really pissed. Okay, that's when you should just stop, and you should think that, wow, I just dropped a coffee on me. Like, I can buy a new coffee. Imagine that I even got a chance to buy a coffee, and I'm standing in the university. Like, that's cool. Yeah. I'm standing in the university and I'm wearing clothes. I can wash my clothes. It's not a big problem. So I have that mindset. So it's really like hard to talk with, like, when I talk to people that's really negative, and I'm always trying to be like, think of it in this way instead. Like, I know that how they will meet me. They will be like, no. They will be like angry at my mindset. Mm-hmm. They would be like, you don't understand. And probably I don't. I don't understand. But they don't understand me either. So I feel like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to connect with people when you're not in the same place. It's really hard.
I think you're 100% right on that. And you end up attracting those people, and eventually I think everybody will come to the realization that negativity just only leads in one direction. And it's like when, you know, and I was getting my hair cut by somebody a couple months ago, and this girl goes, you know, I was talking to her about the news, and she goes, you know, my mom watches the news. It's the first thing she does in the morning. She gets up and she watches the news, and it's just negativity, negativity, negativity. And she goes, it's almost like they want you to watch this, and it puts you in a fearful negative state of mind first thing in the morning. And then all you do for the rest of the day is you project that negativity onto the world. It's like you're manifesting negativity because they've almost pre-programmed you in a negative mindset to start your day. And that's when I realized like I no longer watch or try to consume any news content in the morning because she's 100% right.
That's so true. And I thought of about that like really recently, that because I watch the news. I watch the news every morning. I watch the news every night. I have notifications on my phone. And I had this conversation with a friend and I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I don't want this. They're never going to tell me anything good. So why should I watch the news? Like, I want to stay up to date with everything that's happening in the world, but I want the good out of it as well. Like, I want more good news than bad news. So I'm currently in this state where I'm like, maybe I just should stop watching the news.
I think you're right. So when you take a look at like energy, have you ever talked to anybody about astral projecting? Have you ever heard of astral projecting?
No. I try.
So it's really cool. It really has to do. So back in the day, the CIA wanted to see if they could basically tap into certain powers with the brain, and the brain would allow you to basically leave your body. And the idea is like astral projecting it is like a dream state. You put your body into this dream state, and then you're able to control the dream. So imagine being able to dream, being able to control your dream, being able to leave your body and have control to travel the universe. So if you go on to Spotify, let me pull this up on my phone. I've tried it a few times. I just came across this. So it's called the Gateway Experience. I don't know if I need, so it's called the Gateway Experience. It's on Spotify, and it's not the there's a short version one, and then there's one where somebody like recorded this. You can only buy the CD on eBay, and it's like a couple $100. But the idea is this guy used to work for the CIA, and he was an expert at this technique, and he realized that the only way to, not the only way, but the easiest way for an untrained human to astral project and be able to get a hold of this power in your mind, because we've been so programmed to not use that part of your brain. You have to access a certain part of your brain to have that ability to astral project. And it's not something you're going to get overnight. It's something you have to like consciously practice over and over again. But the way that to do that is with vibrations and frequencies. So you put on headphones and he plays these very specific vibrational frequencies into just one ear, and then into the other ear, and then into this ear, and it unlocks. And he walks you through and he coaches you through this thing. And it's the most bizarre, crazy. People probably think I'm crazy to even talk about it. But
you've
I
done
think
that.
I've tried it, a couple times now. And I think somebody like you that has tapped into this unlimited abundance of happiness in the universe, I think you have the potential to do it. And I would really like to hear back from you in a couple months if you try it to see.
I'm going to try it. Like, I'll try it today.
I figured you might like
sure.
that. So it's really, really cool. And I agree. And the more you just start looking at everything in the positive light, that the world is so much abundance, and it's been taken from us. So how do you think Bitcoin, do you think like the universe just manifested Bitcoin then?
Oh, wow. Maybe. Like,
It's harnessing all of the positive energy from all over the world, if you really think about it, and what Bitcoin is doing. And it's imposing, like Jeff Booth will tell you, that it's imposing this new set of laws, this new reality on the universe. And it's trustless, and it's removing all of the corruption by complete transparency at a global scale.
Probably. Yeah, probably. And maybe it also just, like, if we look at the perspective of when Bitcoin really came into our world, it came in now, and it's like I feel that people find Bitcoin when they're in a like specific area in the world, in a specific situation. So like Bitcoin is peace. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's more connected than I like imagine it would be.
Do you think that, like you said, that most of us, I don't think, find Bitcoin when we're super happy? Like, we're normally having troubles with money. We're trying to look for a way out of the situation. Do you think Bitcoin's finding us versus us finding Bitcoin?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Or I don't know. That's so hard, because I would like to say I would like to say that the Bitcoin find me, but like if I look at my Bitcoin story, I would probably feel that I find Bitcoin. So I don't know. We found each other, maybe.
When did you find Bitcoin?
This is a super good question because I think that a lot of people's Bitcoin journey actually begins sooner as they like willing to admit. I found Bitcoin in I really found Bitcoin in 2021, but I would like to say that my Bitcoin journey actually begins in like 2011, because that's when I found the interest that will like drag me into Bitcoin. So in 2011, I was in Egypt with my mom, and I was only around 10 years old.
Wah, wah, wah. She'll be back. This happens, folks. Don't worry about it. Stay tuned. That gives me an opportunity to ask you to smash that like button for us. If you could do me a huge solid, and please smash that like button. Amy will be back momentarily. We have these issues from time to time, especially when we're dealing with people over in other countries and the connection issues from overseas. So hopefully you guys are definitely enjoying this content. I know I'm enjoying these conversations. And it takes us a step back from being in the negativity that is the political world and the clown show. And she's back. There she is. Walk me through that one more time. Nah, it happens. It happens when you're overseas. We have it all the time, so don't worry about it. But you're telling us about you finding Bitcoin.
Sorry about that. What was I talking about? I was talking about Egypt.
Yeah, finding Bitcoin.
So I was in Egypt with my mom, and I was only like 10 years old or something like that. And for the first time in my life, I found myself in situations like facing experiences that were completely new to me. For example, there was this even though I was so little, I remember everything so clear. So for example, there was this festival in Cairo. So people came from the countryside. So people from the countryside, they came all the way to the city. And just as like some of these people, they were seeing a white person for the first time in their life. Like they looked at me as I was some kind of alien. But at the same time, I saw people that I wasn't used to see, and I saw a culture that I wasn't used to see. And like beyond everything, I saw poverty. So for the first time in my life, I saw and I experienced poverty. And I'm not talking about the kind of poverty like you see in the Western world. I'm more talking about the kind of poverty where people don't have roof over their heads. So for instance, I have this very good example. Imagine that you're in a hot air balloon, and that has to you're in Egypt in a hot air balloon, and it needs to do an emergency landing in the middle of the desert. And when you land there, you see people walking around with like barely any clothes on, and they're desperately asking for a drop of water. That's the level of poverty that I'm talking about. So that's the poverty that I experienced. And at the same time, you're experiencing like this big contrast that exists in Egypt, like with these once assistant pharaohs, and with the golden chest and temples and everything that must have cost a lot to build. And in the middle of all of this, there I was, and I would say that like that planted a seed in me, because there I was, like little Amy, just 10 years old, and I started to ask myself why. Like, why did we end up in a society that looks like this? Because the problem, it was so clear to me that the problem can't be the people. Like the people that I saw in the Sahara Desert, they looked way too kind. Where did they go wrong? And it took me years to understand that it's not the people that's broken, it's the system. So the system is broken, but the people that I saw, they are the one who suffers. So the money is broken, but and then you realize that the money, our monetary system, that's the fault to our entire world, and that's the reason that the world looks like this. So I would say that my Bitcoin journey, like, it started there because that led me to the interests in economics, in politics, in ownership, and value, but also like in culture, poverty, and I don't know, social exclusion. So because of that, I started to study international political economy in 2021. And I was still like unaware of Bitcoin's impact in the world. My dad's always been, he's a tech guy, so he's been in Bitcoin. But like I could be sitting at home and he could be like, oh, Bitcoin, wow, Bitcoin went up. And I just saw past that. I was like, I'm not interested. I'm not going to learn about this. Then it goes into like this more spiritual part, because Bitcoin wasn't my life, but I wasn't ready to handle it yet. So maybe it found me as well. But anyways, I started to study international political economy in 2021, and I was still unaware of like Bitcoin's potential impacts in the world. And as you might already know, the education in universities, they're like primarily focused on Keynesianism. So as I am a person that's always asking why, I remember this one day we were studying inflation in school. Okay, so Riksbanken, that's Sweden's central bank, and it's also the oldest bank in the world. They can consider 2% inflation as normal. I don't know what's the normal inflation rate in the US. Is it the same? I can't hear you now.
Sorry, the theft rate's 2%.
Okay, yeah. So we say that 2% inflation, that rate is normal. That's what keeps the economy moving. And initially, like my classmate, I really accepted this. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But somehow, like I couldn't shake it off. Like 2% inflation, and also the statement that they said that 2% inflation is normal. And I know that I was like, but how can inflation be normal? Is there even such a thing as normal inflation? Like, who made this up? So, like, I know that I began searching about this, like maybe in class when we had this education, and I was like, why 2%? I don't get it. And everything, like, it seemed to make sense because I didn't know any better. But then I stumbled up on something, and I go with this example a lot when I'm trying to explain inflation to my friends. But have you seen this picture of, it's from Venezuela, it's of cash and it's a chicken?
Mm-mm.
You haven't? Okay. So
cash and a chicken? I'm going to try to pull it up.
You can Google Venezuela inflation, and that will probably be one of the first pictures that shows up. Did you find it?
Hold on. I searched on Brave. I needed to search on Google. Google's better. Venezuela inflation, cash versus a chicken. Yeah, I think I found it. Yeah. Is this what you're talking about? That one right here?
Exactly. So I started to look into inflation, and I saw that picture, and I was like, wow, what am I looking at? And I read this article about Venezuela. They experienced 80,000% inflation. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge difference from like the 2% inflation that I was like learning about during that. So I was like, okay, 80,000%, like where did we go wrong? That can't be normal. So now we're not talking about this normal inflation rate anymore. So like asking myself why, like what am I looking at? That made me realize that maybe oh yeah, look at that. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That's nuts.
I know. So looking at that made me like realizing that, wow, I had never truly understood inflation. Like whether it's 2% or 80,000% inflation, when our central bank decides to create money out of thin air, like they could do that anytime. The money that you stored in your bank account, the value of that will decrease in value. So the image that you were just now showing us, it isn't about the chicken. It's just illustrating that the money is becoming worthless. It had nothing to do with like, what is that, spaghetti or the carrots or the paper. Like it's about the money. So, and especially it's about the value of money. So I guess that, yeah, I was looking into that, and I really remember this one day. Like I think that was the main point where I started to like questioning our monetary system. I was like, who has this power to just create money? Like, that's crazy. So that dragged me in to start to question a lot of more things about our current monetary system. Like, for example, this with financial inclusion. Like, still, if we look at, I think it's still like 1.7 billion people that lack access to a bank account. Like, who decide that? Like, why does the world look like that? So I started to like look more and more into this, but it was especially the inflation part. I went home to my dad that day, and I was just sitting in the kitchen. I think he was making food, and I was like, oh, we had this education about inflation, and I saw this article about Venezuela. It's crazy. I was just bragging about that part, and he was like, you should look into Bitcoin. And I was like, what do you mean no? And he was like, yeah, just look into Bitcoin. And I was like, okay, please explain to me how Bitcoin fixes this. How does a speculative made up digital currency called Bitcoin, how would that fix this? But I'm a very curious person. So of course I was going to look into Bitcoin. And I'm happy that I am a curious person, because like otherwise I guess that I would never look into Bitcoin. But so that's when I, like, after that, when I try to like come to the signification of how important Bitcoin is, like that made me just want to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. So like that's my little Bitcoin story. But that's why I'm telling people that, because a lot of people would say that my Bitcoin journey begins in 2021 then. But it don't. No, it begins in 2011.
That's an amazing story.
Thank you.
Walk me through that first 2021 when your dad had that conversation with you. Where did you go after that? Did you immediately like, all right, Dad, I'm going to prove my dad wrong? Or what was your mindset of like, was it an open-minded, I'm going to learn more about Bitcoin? Or is it like, no, I'm going to prove to my dad why Bitcoin isn't the answer?
No, I have a very open mindset. Like I always I want everybody's perspective on everything. So I guess I was just like, well, mostly because of the inflation part. Like I'm very lucky that my dad's always been like, he wants to help me understand Bitcoin, but he's also like, do your own research. Like, I know that you can handle this by yourself. I'm going to be here if you have questions, but do your own research. And I'm happy that it went that way. Is it? No.
You're good.
The connection. Yeah.
You're good.
No, but so like where did I start? Oh, I know exactly where I started. I don't remember like where. I probably just went on YouTube to watch some video about what is Bitcoin, and like especially about the Bitcoin's fixed supply. But after that, I remember that it was this TikTok trend, and I didn't know a lot about Bitcoin here, but it was this Bitcoin trend, and it was a sound that said, "Okay, I get it. Let me think. I guess it's my turn," or something like that. And it was a trend where you uploaded a video of yourself when like, okay, I guess it's my time to shine, and people said like someone when they're mentioned, I don't know, carrots, makeup. And I wrote me when someone is mentioning Bitcoin. Like, okay, I get it. Let me think. I guess it's my turn. And people were like, what? What is going on now? And I remember that I got these comments that said like, okay, teach me something about Bitcoin. And I just started to learn about Bitcoin. I didn't know much about Bitcoin. But I saw like, okay, actually there is some kind of interest. So I was starting to upload videos on TikTok at the same time that I was learning things. So yeah, that was after that. But like the biggest reason that I started to like upload videos on TikTok was mostly because like the comments on that video, they really showed me that it's this huge gap in the knowledge, like especially in Sweden. So like for an example, I realized that I'm born in Sweden, as we already talked about. And like I represent a generation that's way too comfortable. Like all my friends, we like a blip with our Visa or MasterCard, we think that solves most of our problems. We know that we have some inflation going on, but we don't really understand what inflation is. And we know that the state is somehow corrupt, but like we don't see how much. So like I started to see this this gap in the knowledge. And that made me realize that, wow, like I need to learn more about this for sure. But my friends and the people around me, like my generation, we need to learn about this. We do. And TikTok has this amazing algorithm which makes like all your videos can goes on someone's For You page. So that's when I went on TikTok. Everything was in Swedish though.
And has Bitcoin helped you with your English? I see you're doing a lot of things in both languages. Which do you prefer?
Well, yeah, I guess like more at like the last year maybe. So a year ago, everything that I did was in Swedish, and now like I went to Madeira, and here like goes the crazy thing about the letter that I found, my diary note, because I wrote down in that diary that the trip to Madeira. Okay, I had no idea that I wanted to go to Madeira. I know that it was going to be this Bitcoin Atlantis conference, but I wasn't working with a Bitcoin company. I do that now. And like, since I work with Btchick, it's an exchange in Sweden, that gave me the opportunity to go to Bitcoin Atlantis. And I also wrote down in that note, in the diary note, that the best thing with my job is that it allows me to travel. I can work from any place and things like that. And I can work with what I love, which is Bitcoin. So what were we discussing? I lost it completely.
That was it. We were just talking about Bitcoin and the the journey and everything like that. I really wanted to know is talk to me about this journey into Bitcoin. I want to hear about. So you found Bitcoin. You're obviously falling in love with it, and then did you manifest this job? Was this something that you wrote in your diary, like I want to work with Bitcoin?
No,
and then
I manifested this for sure. I know I did. Wait, okay. Wait, give me a second. Here is it. Here's my diary.
Mm-hmm.
I write in that every day. Here's my note. Okay. So this is what I wrote, and it says, I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
Dear diary.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says 8th of August, 2024. So what I wrote was, like, for example, I wrote like mostly about myself and what I feel about myself. And then, like, out of nowhere, the trip to Madeira gave me multiple job opportunities. But I chose to stay on like my already good job, which is like so fun, but mostly challenging. I can work on remote, and everything is, I do everything in English. So, and this was before I had the job.
Oh, bummer. It always cuts out at the best time. She'll be right back. There's about every 15 minutes we get cut off. We almost made it 20 on that one. So she'll be back in 2 seconds. Smash that like button. It actually gives me a nice opportunity I never get to during these interviews, asked for everybody to hit that like button. So if you could, we would greatly appreciate it. And Amy will be back in 1 or 2 seconds. Home Skillet, I see you over there in the live chat. Kadena UAE, Mr. K, good to see everybody over here. Thank you guys for joining us today. And thank you for smashing that like button. There she is. She's back. Welcome back to the party. It's reminding me to ask people to hit the like button every time you go out. So it's actually kind of nice. I never get to do that in the stream. So thank you.
But why is this happening? Like, usually I don't have a problem with my internet connection. And it should be that, right?
the program I use requires a lot of resources. So if you don't have like top-notch internet, or there's any issues with VPNs or the connection, it could be the
Okay.
people around you. It could be there are a bunch of kids playing Fortnite around you that live around you, and they're using more bandwidth at this time. It could be anything, or I could be getting attacked for the other crazy type of
It's
content that I
probably
put out.
all the Bitcoin miners
Yeah,
around
they're
me. The
jealous.
Bitcoin nodes.
The universe is jealous of how positive this stream is. So keep going.
What was I telling you about?
You were talking about your diary. You were like, on this day,
Then it went.
you were just showing me your diary, and
I said that I wrote in this note that the trip to Madeira, so I didn't know that I was going to Madeira. Here, apparently, I did know that. Gave me like multiple job opportunities, but I chose to stay on my like already so fun job. It's like mostly fun, but also challenging, and it's on remote, and everything I do is in English, and that is exactly how it looks today. So I manifested my job for sure. But so a year ago, everything that I did was in Swedish, and then I went to Madeira to Bitcoin Atlantis, and I sat down with. I actually sat down with Michael Saylor for like an hour.
whoa.
Yeah, that is the first time that I'm actually mentioning this. I always say that I sit down with this permanent figure that I choose not to name. But yeah, I had a conversation with him for like an hour, and he asked me, "What's your goal?" And I just said that like I want to like knowledge people, because I came to the realization of how important Bitcoin is, and I want the people around me to see that as well. And then he told me that like if your goal is to educate people, you should know that right now you're only educating 0.15% of the world population. And I was like, wow. And then he told me that that's Sweden in the world. Why don't you educate the whole world if you have the opportunity? Like you should go on completely English. So that's what was happening in, when was that, February? So now everything I do is in English. Like my Twitter account is in English. I'm doing my TikTok videos in English, and so I just changed. Now everything is in English.
What a cool story. Tell me about, I feel like these crystals, I see one on your neck, I see two on your fingers. I feel like those are really important to you. Tell me, explain what those are.
The funny thing is that a year ago, I didn't know anything about crystals. And then I went into this full moon and the new moon manifestation that we talked about. And it was my birthday. So it was like, honestly, a year ago. My birthday is 18th of May. And I got a gift from one of my best friends. And it was a full moon meditation. It was a little set with crystals. So it was a full moon meditation with crystals. So she's the reason that I got into the crystal things. Like honestly, I love how they look because it's so cute. But like now I do use them as well. I have my bag over here, and it is with here my magical crystals.
Hold on, let me put them there full screen. Show me them. Can you put them in your hand?
Of course, there are way too many.
And I assume each one of these has a specific meaning and draws in a vibrational frequency.
Yep.
Oh, I like those.
So the thing that sucks now is that I always carry this with me. And it went from being like, I think it was free or something. And then I just bought a new one because it was cute. But then I went to Madeira and I forgot my crystals in Sweden. So, and that scared me. I was like, no. My crystals, like they're in Sweden. I need them. So I went into a store and I bought new crystals. It was a bag of crystals. And now I have the feeling that I have way too many crystals, but I don't know which one to delete, because what if I delete the crystal that like gives me the most? And I don't know which one that is. So I have way too many now. But then
what if you gifted one to somebody? so that you passed it on to somebody else. So even if it was your good one and you were doing such a good favor for somebody else, that the universe would return that energy back to you.
They probably will. They would. Like I gave away some crystals, not crystals that I have for myself, but like I bought crystals and then I put them like in the outside when it's like a full moon or a new moon, just to absorb the energy from the moon. Wow, I hear that can sound crazy. It's not when you start to think of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably.
What is your
but
favorite
I don't
one?
know which one. It will be way too hard.
Which is your favorite one right now? Well, you're wearing some, so tell me about the ones on your fingers. What does the tan one mean? Looks opal.
Okay, so I thought that this one was. I was told that this one is citrine crystal, but this is a citrine crystal. This one's, and this one, and they don't look alike at all. And this one, so like everything that I have on me right now is citrine. So I honestly don't know what this is anymore. I've been told that it is citrine, and citrine, it's a crystal that's good for like wealth in any kind. So like wealth in I don't know, in relations, but also in job opportunities, in money, and like everything. But this is a good one.
What's that?
It's a rose quartz. So this crystal is actually it's for love, but this is mostly for, if I understood it correctly, it's for love, but in that amount that you will only receive love when you first have like love for yourself. So first, this will heal you, and when it gave all that that self love, then it will start to like give people love, and you will receive love in return. So that's a clear quartz. And this one is no, that's a rose quartz. This is a clear quartz. This one is I think the most common crystal, and this is a manifestation crystal that you can like what do you say, load with everything that you want, anything.
My mom has that one hanging from her vehicle in her rearview mirror of her car. Since I was a little child, she's always had that style of crystal hanging from her mirror.
That's my crystals. But now I have way too many. I don't even know them. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
That one has like 2 colors in it.
Yeah, it's super cute, but I have no idea what it is.
Well, this was such an amazing conversation. I know we're going on that hour mark, and I want to be really respectful of your time. And I just had so much fun and enjoy this conversation. I hope you'll come back and share more about your journey. Let me ask you one last question. Over the next year, what are you expecting? What would you screw that? What are you trying to manifest over the next year? I'd rather hear about that.
Wow, everything, a lot of things. Mostly about like my career and Bitcoin. I want to like stay focused on that and my job, but I want to like put a lot of more job into myself and into my relations, like people around me.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best, and I have no doubt that you're going to manifest everything that you're hoping for. And I look forward to seeing what you're doing with Bitcoin and your job and where you're taking this in the future and growing your social media accounts. And I wish you the absolute best, and hopefully you'll come back and join us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Have a great day. God bless. Bye. All right, folks, that's a wrap over here on the Ryan Matta Show. Do us a favor, smash that like button on the way out their door. Make sure you swing down and follow Amy. I links to everything down in the show notes. God bless you guys. We'll be over on LFA TV today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come join us. God bless.